Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well today. On June 30th, there was an MK Ultra meeting in Congress, and it's pretty significant because they haven't talked about this in Congress in any of these types of settings in like 50 years. So, I guess it's kind of a big deal, kind of not a big deal. And I'll explain why. Because it's a good thing in the way that we'd rather have them talking about it than I guess not talking about it at all. But in my opinion, and I'll explain why in a minute, it all just seemed like it was like for show. It was for theater. It was just like another thing that they wanted to pull out of their bag of distractions. That a true thing that happened, but something that they've neglected to talk about until it was convenient for them to talk about when the time came when it was more important to divert our attention from other things. But since they did bring it up, I thought it necessary to mention a couple things that they talked about and a couple ironic miscommunications that happened during this hearing, leading up to this hearing. For starters, let's talk about the witnesses. We have 3 witnesses. We have Stephen Kinzer, and he was the author of Poisoner in Chief, which was a book mostly about Sidney Gottlieb, and Sidney Gottlieb is like basically the father of MK Ultra. The second witness, Dr. Tom O'Neill, many people know him. He was the infamous author of Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. He's the second witness. And then we have this third witness here that was just like plopped, that seemingly was plopped out of nowhere, had no business being here, was there to talk about something totally off topic from MK Ultra. Dr. Elizabeth Genexi, who was a previous employee of the NIH, who is a research psychologist, who claimed that she was there to testify about the government overreach and how they're trying to disassemble the NIH currently. Like, that's what she claimed to be there to talk about, which obviously has seemingly nothing to do with MK Ultra. If you want my real opinion, I personally believe she was there to take up time away from the real subject matter of the hearing. That's my opinion. Because even though many of the people overseeing this hearing, they knew that she was already there for something totally different, but yet they kept calling on her and kept asking her about COVID and stuff, things that really had nothing to do with MK Ultra. But here's the ironic part. Well, she was there to defend the NIH, right? Which seemingly has nothing to do with MK Ultra at all. But actually, it does have a little something to do with it. Okay? Because the NIH was one of the many, many, many institutions in the United States that had MK Ultra sub-projects going on there. Now, I don't know if they were aware of these sub-projects. It depends on who was aware, because some people were obviously aware, like Harris Isbell, who is the director of research at the National Institute of Mental Health Addiction Research Center, which is which is under the umbrella of the NIH. It's the NIH. It's just like a little subcategory of the NIH that was supposed to be revolved around addictions and research. And this center was in Lexington, Kentucky. And here's the ironic part, right? Right after we established that Dr. Genexi is not there to talk about MK Ultra, that she's there specifically just to defend NIH and their behavior and their crimes against humanity, apparently. The ironic part is right after they question her and establish that she's pointless, Dr. O'Neill brings up a case, an MK Ultra case, where where prisoners in Lexington, Kentucky were fed LSD for 77 consecutive days just to see what would happen against their will. The ironic part is that case that they bring up was through the NIH. So, but like it completely went over everyone. I don't know if they didn't do their research, they didn't investigate these things properly before they came, why Dr. O'Neill, who's supposed to be an expert in this subject, why he didn't pick it up immediately that the NIH was overseeing this experiment. It just completely went over their heads. They didn't think to ask Dr. Genexi what she knew anything about it. She did claim to be an expert at like subject safety in like experiments and whatnot. So I don't know. It just seems weird that, I mean, maybe I get the members of Congress. I mean, they're not like experts on this. That's what they brought the experts in to ask them about. I found it strange that neither Stephen Kinzer nor Tom O'Neill thought it ironic that she was there, seemingly unrelated, to defend the NIH when the NIH had their own involvement in, I just don't know, it just went over all their heads. I guess, you know, whatever. I guess accidents happen. But it was literally the same case that they reference in this hearing was through the NIH. I mean, Sidney Gottlieb himself visited this exact research center, this addiction research center under the NIH. He himself visited it. And they ran their research continuously through the 50s and 60s. And not only that, while MK Ultra was winding down, this research center continued some of their experiments that were going on under MK Ultra. And I just find it odd that this went over everyone's head. Like, no one like thought to do any proper research on like, because I mean, they also were talking about like MK Naomi, and that is a good segue into this, how the drugging on uninformed subjects fits in with MK Ultra. I mean, it would have been a perfect segue, but like they all totally missed the opportunity. This is why I say I feel like she wasn't there to like bring any focus to any of this. She was there to take time away from the actual subject of this hearing. Because you see that like the other two witnesses, the ones who were there to talk about MK Ultra, members of Congress, were interested in asking them questions about things that they obviously wouldn't know anything about. They didn't spend any time like really, I mean, they did spend some time asking about Sidney Gottlieb, but like as far as like Charles Manson and stuff like that, they really didn't ask much about it. I don't know. I just feel like this was all just for show. Like there are so many like survivors still alive. Why didn't they bring any of the survivors? They would have been like the perfect like people to talk about this. Like, I mean, at least one, right? Not just a bunch of journalists who claim that they're experts in something that they never participated in. I don't know. Just this whole hearing just seemed like a bunch of BS. I mean, I'm glad it happened in a way because like, yeah, it's going to get like, you know, more attention to it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It just seems that everyone totally missed this. That like, I don't know. This whole hearing, it really seemed like it was just all for show. Like, really nothing that fruitful. Like, the two that were there to talk about it, like, always had a lot of, I don't know. Well, I would have no way of knowing that. I hope you knew that. And, you know, there was a lot of that going on. But just in case that, like, we're confused about who the NIH is, I thought it important to remind everybody, you know, how the NIH operates, despite what Dr. Genexi had to say in their defense, and despite the supposed strides they've made in the medical community. Despite all this, I just wanted to remind you what exactly type of organization we're dealing with here. The NIH in the late 80s and early 90s experimented on hundreds of children with HIV and AIDS treatments. And many of them, these foster children, who are by law supposed to have an advocate assigned to them, didn't even have that. They didn't even have like an advocate assigned by the government to advocate for them. So basically they're just like taking a whole pool of kids who don't have parents to look out for them, to advocate for them, and just like experimenting on them. And yes, there were deaths, although they try to say that the deaths were not related to the medical trials. Maybe they weren't. I mean, if these kids like were struggling with AIDS and HIV, I'm not trying to like put blame on anybody or anything. Like, but I'm just saying that the NIH, they're not new to this. They're true to this. Like, they have a long, long history of doing these types of things, of doing this crap, and like using the excuse, like all the constant barrage of excuses, whether it's like national security or if it's like leaps in science, or whatever excuse they use. They experimented on unwitting Americans, and not just Americans, but some of the most vulnerable people in our population. Foster children, prisoners. Like, they went to other countries and did this to other people in other countries. It's not just our country either. But anywho, that was the MK Ultra hearing on the 30th, and it was very underwhelming. They didn't really talk about anything new necessarily. It was a bunch of like old declassified stuff that we've already known about. But I don't know. I hope that the door stays open for more of these hearings. I don't know how to read Anna Paulina Luna or Tim Burchett or Nancy Mace or Lauren Boebert. I just know that they always seem to be the unexpected heroes in these situations, in the mainstream, which makes me very, very suspicious of them. I can't help but to be suspicious. You know what I mean? When they get to be chairs of these like committees and whatnot, and there's always like a reason, right? There's always someone powerful backing them. Like, they didn't just get there just because they have good morals and integrity, right? But anyways, that's all I really had to say about that for today. I hope you all have a good day.